Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me check my volume. Hope everyone is doing okay this morning. I said it was going to be 5 minutes and bam! I think I made my 5-minute mark. So while I do this, if you guys enjoy what I'm putting down, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course you can always support the Patreon. You guys know the drill at this point. TYT goes on a firing spree. And in addition to the firing spree, they fired Nomiki Konst and they fired Hannah Cranston. Me too, asshole. Firing the ladies. And attractive ladies at that. How dare you, sir. But I'm teasing. Clearly. Yeah, they went on a firing spree. So I was told about this immediately when it happened. A friend of mine hit me up and she was like, hey, they've just fired Nomiki Konst. And I said, oh God, I feel so bad for her. Because understand, just because I disagree with her doesn't necessarily mean I don't wish harm on her like that. There's some people that I greatly dislike who maybe in my not so bright moments I might wish some harm on, but it's just a political difference. I consider him in my sandbox, and so I feel bad. I was like, oh God, that sucks. And she says it's not just her, it's a few of them, it's a lot of them. Apparently there was a shakeup. And in that shakeup, they got rid of senior personnel and they got rid of Nomiki. I didn't know about Hannah, but apparently Hannah is also part of the mix. This is the wrap, because I want to talk about this after I read this article, because I think this is going to be an interesting conversation. The Young Turks network shreds senior employees and staff shakeup. On-air talent Nomiki Konst and Hannah Cranston are among the leaving. The Young Turks laid off at least 5 employees this week. A person familiar with the matter confirmed to the Wrap on Thursday. Among the departures were Nomiki Konst and Hannah Cranston, who both had on-air talent with the company. In a statement, the company declined to confirm any specific numbers and instead lamented the difficult decisions required for growth. TYT Network has continued to see the tremendous growth in audience size and engagement, as well as business partnerships and sponsorships. From time to time, we are faced with difficult decisions as we grow to our larger size, influence, and reach. We truly respect our colleagues as people and as professionals, what makes personnel decisions difficult even when necessary to move the company into the next phase of our evolution. Wow, they sound like corporate hacks. Konst, who served as an investigative reporter for the left-leaning network since 2016, told colleagues in a terse email obtained by the Wrap that she was moving on. In a Facebook post, she elaborated, "Thank you to those who trusted me to share their stories. These were special stories to cover a significant time," she wrote. "It's been the greatest privilege working as a correspondent for the Young Turks." On the same day, Hannah Cranston, who serves as a host and executive producer of the Young Turks program Think Tank, tweeted that she was also leaving. "After nearly 4 amazing years, I am moving on from Think Tank to the Young Turks," said Cranston. "I can't tell you all how much I've appreciated your support. Love and gratitude," Cranston added with 2 heart emojis. Aw, that's sweet. That's the sweetest "I've been fired" letter ever. Cranston and Konst declined to comment for the story. While layoffs in the media business are nothing new, the high-level departures come less than a year after the Young Turks raised $20 million and reveal aggressive plans to double their existing staff from 100 to 200 employees. This seems like the opposite of that. We've got the content side figured out pretty well, ranked number 1 in the news vertical in all rankings, but it's time to build out the rest of the business, Cenk, the site's co-founder and most prominent personality, told Business Insider at the time. In more recent months, the site has been buffeted by public relations issues from the Wrap's report that the blog in the early 2000s, made disparaging remarks towards women. That was the unbelievable butts comments including saying they were genetically flawed because they don't want to have sex often enough. That was followed by scrutiny of Uyghur's nephew, Hassan Piker, who raised eyebrows for his many past statements on the network, including advice to men looking to become aspiring pickup artists. I thought, if I'm being honest, both of these were bogus. I didn't necessarily care about something that happened in the 2000s. And let's be honest, didn't say shit like that. It's weird that he wrote it, and some of the stuff gets weirder still. Like, some of the stuff is like odd locker room stuff that you don't necessarily write out or say, but whatever. I didn't necessarily ascribe a huge amount to that. The thing I want to talk about is this. They were supposed to double their existing staff. This seems like the opposite to me. Now, let me ask my question, and we can talk about it after I ask my question. And I might have two questions. The Young Turks took a bunch of money from the audience to hire reporters. Now, in taking the bunch of money to hire those reporters, what was the time length that was supposed to be associated with that money and those reporters? And what is the likelihood that Nomiki would have taken it, knowing that it would have been like 1 year? Also, if they got $20 million, why are they firing Nomiki? Hannah, I can see your show not doing well, but why are they firing Nomiki? And beyond that, she seemed to love what she did, meaning doing her thing, head bobbing when she's going after the DNC. Like she said, interviewing Jeremy Corbyn, she seemed to enjoy her job. Ideologically, she is in line with what's taking place. Why did they let her go? What was the reason for letting her go? What was the issue? Was there something with her job performance? I couldn't necessarily see it. Is she doing something behind the scenes? I couldn't necessarily. Like, it's one of those things of, Hannah, I can kind of get, but Nomi was your flagship reporter. Nomi was everywhere. I mean, the woman was all over the place. Now, do you guys remember, there was a crazy woman who wrote that article about Jordan when she was going after him. I referenced this because when I read that article, there's some things that stand out in that article. Not so much about her going after Jordan, more so about the TYT stuff. Is it possible they're in money trouble? I'll just say it. Is it possible they're having money trouble? If you remember in that article, and I can't put my finger on it right now, but the woman did a hate scribe against Jordan Church. Literally just tearing him down, just the entire thing. It was like 10 pages of her just going after him. So they had like a white savior complex and all this other stuff. Neither here nor there. I thought she was nuts, if I'm being honest. But what she's saying is some of the stuff she's talking about it from her perspective of her being there in the room. And one of the things she said was Nomi writing speeches and then covering the politicians after writing the speeches. With the point of saying, she can't do that. That's massively unethical. But one of the other things that came up in that tidbit was their checks were late. They says our checks are going to be late again. Why would you let Nomiki go? I don't understand that. And the only lens that makes sense to me is either they thought she was being a political actor and couldn't make the disassociation between, let's say, aggressively politicizing things in the New York race. But I don't think that would be it, because otherwise they wouldn't have supported, what's the woman, Cranston, to such a degree. I mean, she was on the show giving interviews like every Wednesday or something. So I don't necessarily think they would punish Nomiki for something that they themselves are doing. So the other thing is, are they having money trouble? They're talking about they're supposed to be expanding and they're firing staff. I am opening this up now because I don't know the answer to this, and maybe brighter minds than me would know it. But I was told that they were potentially having money trouble. But she could be wrong. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I think TYT would crumble without Door. Wesley Walker. Again, Wesley. Thank you. And I don't know. What I think would crumble is their lefty base, if that makes sense. Like if you think of almost like a political show that has this kind of left flank, that's Door. Door has like 300,000 subscribers at this point, and is well known enough where CNN ends up attacking him, with all these other shows. They could have picked all these other shows, and they end up picking Door because Door at that point had poked his head up that high. But would they crumble? I don't know if they crumble. I mean, they have like, do you remember Door at one point said that TYT viewers are like in a cult? He was mad when he said it, but still, the shit was funny. I don't know if it would crumble, but I don't know about that one, Wesley. I don't think it would crumble. I mean, the show has like 3 million viewers. Even if you take all Door's viewers away, you still got that 3 million core that are TYT maniacs. Jim Hyde, we love Jimmy Dore. Yes, we do. I like Jimmy myself. Pat Hacker, Jimmy doesn't need TYT, but he's loyal. Yes, he is. Very much so. Very much so. When Dore was here, and I asked him about Uyghur, and he answered. And I think he answered honestly. But he's loyal. I just say he's loyal. He's. It's one of those things like, this is my friend. I don't think my friend is fucking around. It's like, okay. Chuck E. Cheese, doesn't TYT have his own YouTube Red channel, and they have preferred Google advertisements? I think they do have preferred Google advertisements. But you're trying to say that money shouldn't be an issue at this point. Look, all I know is they're firing 5 people and Nomiki and Hannah. Again, I can kind of see Hannah if they said the show isn't making cash. But Nomiki was a reporter, and they had a bunch of people putting in a bunch of money to bring on reporters. And their flagship reporter is being shipped away. It doesn't sound like she wanted to leave. It sounded like they made the choice for her to leave, also known as firing. And so the question becomes why? She hasn't answered that question. And my question is this indicative of money trouble? That's what I'm asking. I can only assume part of the $20 million deal was to streamline. Why? But why do you assume that? Like, why do you assume that? Joe says, Jamal's second flagship reported they've gotten rid of after Jordan. You're right. Yes. But with the Jordan case, I mean, they could make the argument of, there was a bunch of stuff going on with the Jordan case. What was Nomiki having orgies? I don't think Nomiki was having orgies on the desk. Like, what would have been? I guess the reason I'm asking this is she was a flagship reporter. She was ubiquitous. Like she said, she was talking to Jeremy Corbyn, and that thing was heartfelt. I mean, read what she said when she left. Like, this didn't sound like somebody who wanted to leave her job. She seems to love her job. From interviewing Jeremy Corbyn to spending months in Puerto Rico to delving deep into campaign finance to bury myself in the dozens of books for TYT interviews to getting attacked by police and smoke bombs at protests, it's been the greatest privilege of working as a correspondent for the Young Turks. Thank you to the viewers and the fans for literally investing in me. Thank you to those who trusted me, that shared my stories. There were special stories to cover at significant time. I often felt like a teacher and a student, learning as I was reporting, for the engaged and passionate of audience. Quite frankly, I took a risk jumping from cable news commenting to going out into the field reporting for an independent news network. And damn, am happy I got the grounds and go into the weeds with the movement. Independent journalism is more important now than ever. Where you can, however, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm reading this poorly, but it's hard to see with the light shining on it. Quite frankly, I took a risk jumping from cable news commenting to going out into the field reporting for an independent news network. And damn, am I happy I got onto the ground and into the weeds with the movement. She's saying grassroots. Independent journalism is more important now than ever. Where you can, however you can, I encourage you to keep giving to independent media. Stay tuned for more direct, involved, or movement work from me. And, as always, jump on to Twitter to hear more in real time. This doesn't sound like somebody who wanted to leave. It sounds like somebody who was enthusiastic about her job and that she was sad to be pulled and ripped away. Why did they fire Nomiki? And would they fire her if they didn't need to? And for that matter, does that mean they've gotten rid of reporters? I mean, how many other reporters do they have at this point? Any left over? If you notice, what she said there was, thank you for the audience for investing in me. It's like, well, if that's true that they invested in you, where are you going? And the other part, it was a big risk leaving my other job, going into this job, which kind of gets across it's not something she necessarily wanted to leave. Glad to see Cranston leave. She had lots of talent, but her intellectual development was being programmed and stellified by the TYT worldview too early in her career. Oh, you're saying she didn't have her own, she wasn't, how can I say this? She wasn't old enough to be a fixed thing yet. And maybe fixed thing is the wrong word. Not necessarily that she couldn't grow anything else, but to have her own identity. Like if I did a show when I was 20, I've been a fucking goofball. I wouldn't know, think about it. And anything that would have known at that point might have just come from the people around me. I think that's your point. Fair enough. Let's see. Sir Bikes a lot. I think so. Got to keep Dan Rather. So Dan is still there. TYT equals MSNBC Part 2. Leslie Cox. That's brutal. I think so. Got to keep Dan Rather. So are you telling me that the only one that's there now is Dan Rather? I mean, I haven't seen Michael Tracy there, but I got to be honest, I don't really watch it. So it's not fair for me to say it. I am sad to see Nomiki go though, if I'm being honest. I know this sounds weird, but I guess my feeling is she enjoyed what she did. It was her honest expression of who she was. There was no hiccup between who she was versus what the job was. Or at the very least, it didn't seem like it. So when she would go and do the reporting and everything else, she was in line with the ideology of the show. At least that's my thought. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. How freaking old is Rather? Sorry to be at ages, but young people don't go to the internet to see Dan Rather. Winkle or Bernie, bro. That's brutal, Winkle. You're an age racist, Winkle. Noel, all of TYT's videos are about Trump and Russia. Yeah, at this point, it's insane. I avoid watching all those since the mainstream media does the same thing. What? Yeah. Did you see the North Korea thing? Their take on North Korea was fundamentally the exact same thing that you were saying on the other ones. It's kind of brain dead, tone deaf. It's almost like dumbed down take of this stuff. And it's like, do they know it or are they doing it just to attack Trump? I can't tell which one it is. Also, if they're trying to come into this kind of contract with YouTube, are they making their material more MSNBC-ish to make it fit into a particular, demographic of sorts. Acting like a haven for the rebellion and then betrayal and carbonite. TYT really is Cloud City. Cenk is Lando. Anna's Fett. Mark is Vader. I thought you meant, okay, so carbonite. I thought you meant carbon. Oh God, the Netflix show. I thought you meant that at first when you're talking about betrayal, because one of the I'm getting into the weeds. That's funny, Balthazar. That's hilarious. Hassan has always come off as a douche to me. Mal CH. Tracy did an interview last week. Been confused what he's doing with them. Tracy is good. I like Tracy. Michael Tracy is really good. I love his Twitter thing because Tracy asks questions in a way that I ask questions like, hey, how come you guys were okay with this now but not okay with it then? And showing the hypocrisy between the way the parties act. And was not on board with this Russia stuff and was pointing it out to Cenk. Cenk turns around and puts a knife in him in one of the shows. It's like, what? You put a knife in your own reporter. Free Nomi and Joyanne Reed. Oh, she's not that bad. She's not that bad. Hassan is huge hands. Archie Frank too. I have no idea what that means. Rat Resistance. Well, I guess they can hire Cenk's son now. Oh, that's messed up. Let's see. Reckless Abandon. I support Jimmy Dore on Patreon. He's kick-ass, and I'm not on the left. Jimmy Dore is kick-ass. Whether you're on the left or right. This is kind of my point, though. Like I did in the other video. I don't think we're as divided as people seem. Look, I think there's been a huge hole that has been blown from the standpoint of political allegiances. You've had a faction that have seen the Republican Party as a sham, and I think you have a faction that's seen the Democratic Party as a sham. And those people, for the most part, have unmoored themselves to some degree to the political parties to which they found themselves. The majority of those people still vote within the confines of their political parties because they've been voting for those political parties for the past X number of years, and it's all they know. But from a standpoint of where they are to where the party is, there is a gap that is opened up. Both, left, right, hate corruption, hate hypocrisy. And in those avenues, there may be room for this kind of level of interaction. Both, to some degree, hate this idea of foreign interventionism. Now, yeah, they may hate it because they want to focus on America, but guess what? I also want to focus on America. I don't want us invading other countries. I don't want us spending $1 trillion on the military. Yeah, I want to focus. We may have different ideas, but we can have that fight about what we do internally. There are areas where we can agree on. I would also make the point, like I said before, it's not that government doesn't work. It's the people who are in government that doesn't work. And there are areas, again, where we can find a certain degree of commonality with regards to the things that we mostly agree on. Put it to a vote. And I strongly suspect that the people will be further to the left. Even the Trump supporters. I don't need them to love me, per se. Meaning, I don't need them to understand my experience. I don't need them to like me. But don't fuck me in the ballot box. Don't fuck me in the ballot box. And I make this point of saying our interests, we have mutual interests, especially from the standpoint of economics. But that's not the way the Democrats fight. They like to fight on this thing of identity. And they've gotten to the point of hugging identity so much that they've started using white as a pejorative, which is just bizarre to me. It's utterly fucking bizarre. Country is like 60% white. They're using that as pejorative. Jimmy and Cal are real rebels at TYT. Yeah, I like Cal too. Cal has been pretty badass recently. TYT, the Hillary channel. Sherry Specter. TYT lost credibility when they pushed for the lesser evils. Garden. TYT Comcast affiliate. Ouch. You know what's funny? When Cenk Uygur came out and said, vote Hillary. I was like, done. I'm done, son. This is check, please. This is where I get off. Thank you very much for the show. Thank you very much for supporting Sanders up to this point. But I need to ding. Let me off the bus. Who is this? 95% air. I watched Cenk once. Cenk, believe it or not, was my favorite on the show. Look, there's a boisterous about Cenk that I actually like. The problem is, it's when it's used in a really shitty direction, or a direction that I fundamentally disagree with. But I think politicians should be more brave and more bold. I think they should be more direct in the way they go about after their political opponents. I think Democrats are too sheepish, but I think they're sheepish because they're being paid to some degree and watered down in whatever they say, meaning they can't actually go after people in the way they would typically go after them if they weren't necessarily paid by that class. I mean, and let me explain what I mean. Pretend for the moment you had a Democratic Party, kind of like Labour is in Britain. And they actually meant it. They represented Labour. And in representing Labour unions had a conduit to interact with the party itself. Now, in having that conduit to interact with the party itself, this was a full-throated endorsement of positions of Labour. And not just Labour. By Labour, I mean the 99%. It's not that I believe that, this is the panacea and this fixes everything. But I do make the point of somebody who's taken a position because they mean it, as opposed to somebody who's taken a position because they have to be quote-unquote pushed. That's nonsense. Somebody who's actually representing Labour wouldn't have to pass the employee free choice. You would have to push and shove Obama to try to get it done. That will be where they will be standing. I'm saying what you have as a Democratic Party is essentially the Tories. In Britain, there are no representations for Labour in this country. That is part of the reason why unions have been obliterated up to this point. Bill Clinton, you have nowhere else to go. Democratic strategy, you have nowhere else to go. The only way you tackle that strategy is by going somewhere else. Even if it's just, I'm not with you. I'm not with you. Your network that's supposed to be rebel headquarters put its guns down and ran at top speed in the opposite direction. That's the opposite of rebel headquarters. Getting out there and saying, vote for the person that cheated my candidate. And then deriding any and everybody who didn't vote for the person who cheated their candidate. Rebel headquarters, my ass. We laugh at Russiagate, but they've kept it up so long that the audience takes it seriously. To me, it's like watching Moby Dick. You know what's sad, Danables? I have a friend that is full-blown into the Russiagate belief system. He sent me a text message that he said, what are your networks? Now, I had already told him, drop it, because I dislike Hillary supporters. And him being one makes me, to some degree, dislike him. And I don't like to dislike him because he's one of my best friends. And I do not have a huge number of friends because I tend to be somewhat solitary. And so I'm like, is there anything else you can talk about? Is this all you are? Like, is this where you are right now? Are you really in this kind of religious cultish type thing? And he asked me for news sources. I gave him a bunch. And he's like, how do you know those aren't funded by the Russians? And I said, oh God, you're racist. And he said something else. And at that point, the conversation was over. I'm like, he's lost it. He's like in a religious fervor. He has lost his mind. He has sucked in and inhaled all of the MSNBC and CNN literature, partially because he's terrified of Donald Trump, African American, but partially it's this echo chamber where the only thing they ever hear on CNN all day is Russiagate, on MSNBC, Russiagate. Rachel Maddow has a new conspiracy theory every day that she's willing to give you. And you rinse and repeat the very next day. Trump and the Iranians. Trump and the Russians. Trump and the Saudis. Trump and Trump, Trump steaks. Trump has been doing this. Trump is killing Mexicans at the border. Trump grabbed a baby. Trump is eating puppies. Trump kicked an immigrant on his way to the White House. It's like, it's Trump every fucking thing all day, every day. It lessens the impact of the reporting when it's something serious. The concentration camps that Donald Trump is putting those people into, that's actually serious. In some of those cases, they're forcing those people to work for like cents on the dollar, essentially like 8 cents away from slave labor. That's something serious. But they've threw a pissy fit for everything that's taken place, talking about this Russian nonsense. So it's like, how do you gain trust on other stuff when you've essentially pitched a bitch to obfuscate from real issues into the country for the last 2 years? And by the way, still nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. They put the Russian company on trial, and the guy showed up, sent his lawyer, and the guy started asking questions of Mueller's case, saying, hey, we want this discovery, and that discovery, and this discovery, and that discovery. And then Mueller's like, whoa. We don't want to show this information to the public. We don't want to expose our information. Is it because you don't have dick anyway? Put this up to try to justify your own existence. I don't believe Mueller has anything. Let's see. The only thing I don't like about Cal is that he picked up Cenk's condescending, mocking impressions. If AP wasn't on TYT, I would have dropped HRC. Jim Hyden, we love Jamal and my people. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it, man. Trudy, Ivanka and Jared made $84 million trading favors, tit for tat, pay for play. Trump pads his coffers using a Mar-a-Lago for official business. Don't disassign. His latest video in North Korea is right on Sir Bikes a Lot. Joel says, Jamal, I just realized that you're my new version of Saturday morning cartoons. That's hilarious. I do need to set I've resisted setting a standard time for the show, because part of the pleasure of having your own business from the standpoint of the show, my feeling is to run it when you want. When I do the show, when I really feel like doing the show, I do a lot of them for a long period of time, engaging with my audience, because my audience is my favorite part, if I'm being honest. I like the stories, but I think I like the talking. I like the back and forth. I like the back and forth. But just to make a point, aggressive progressives, and I would have dropped them after Hillary endorsed. Right. If Jimmy Dore says vote Hillary, it's like done. I'm done, son. So look, Trudy, I agree with you on that, right? So the emollients clause, get him on the emollients clause. Like my issue, believe it or not, it's not whether or not you go after Trump. I am perfectly okay with sending Godzilla to hit King Kong. And that's relative to whichever one I'm talking to in the moment. Meaning, I am perfectly okay with them beating the shit out of one another. Fair enough. I don't like either. Have a go at one another. Tear each other down. Now, the catch is, I just don't want them going after Trump on the Russia nonsense. That I don't like. That's a fail to me. I understand for two reasons. They use that, A, to attack the left. So in the same way you had this kind of red hysteria, this McCarthyism, and this McCarthyism was able to make this kind of Democratic Party to be the bar on the door for leftists, so you couldn't even use the term socialist. Well, it seems like they're trying to do somewhat of a reoccurrence. Even shaming Bernie Sanders is the saying that his Facebook groups were inundated with Russians. Snow on their boots, typing on Facebook, going after the Clinton campaign, apparently. This is nonsense. Half of those things were Facebook after the election. This is utter nonsense. This stuff is utter nonsense. But nevertheless, that is where we are. My issue is attacking the left, an obfuscation of blame. I want the full weight and measure. I want the entirety of the gravity of losing to a reality show host who get his kicks and jollies off of firing other has-been celebrities. I want that to hang on the throat of the Democratic Party. I want them to walk about from pillar to post like one of the creatures in the Christmas Carol, roaming from pillar to post, wearing the sins of their failure on their throat like an albatross. I don't want that to be obfuscated with some nonsense about Russia. I mean, part of this is Hillary Clinton didn't lose on her own merits because those goddamn Russians and that fucking Bernie Sanders and Comey. No, I want it to be she lost on her own merits. Status quo utterly failed. Completely failed on its own merits. That's what I want. Anything else, and you allow them to create some paradigm and some nonsense narrative that Russia has something to do with her failing and losing in the presidential election. I guarantee you, they're revving up for it. That is what they're looking for. They were using even trying to use it to hit Sanders, saying that Sanders was getting support from the Ruskies. It's fucking amazing. But this is what they were doing. So, no, and the third reason, they're positioning us with a nuclear power. The Democratic Party is positioning us at war odds with a nuclear power. And they're doing it for political expedience. Now, at some point, you're going to have some idiots that actually believe this Russian nonsense. And in believing this Russian nonsense, we'll take a hostile posture with Russia. I don't want that. All of those things are problematic. One is a foreign policy nightmare, and the other two are there to obfuscate their own failures. If you want to go after Donald Trump on the emollients clause, have at it. Get his ass. Fair enough. I think it's a little hypocritical. Obama got $1 billion. No, he wasn't stupid enough to take the money straight forward. And no, he wasn't necessarily going to hotels, but he didn't own any hotels. But let's be honest, politicians are taking money to do favors. Donald Trump is just more shameless about it. If he's stupid enough to do that, get him. Just know who you're putting in next. Mike Pence. It is no great feat in order to take down Donald Trump, especially if Mike Pence is going to be the person who's there next. And here's another news flash. While you may beat Donald Trump, you will lose to Mike Pence. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying. Just saying. Chauncey Stewart. I say Bernie should run as an independent or third party, and so the Democratic Party will collapse. I disagree. I know you guys feel it. I know you guys feel it in your chest. You're like, yes, I want him to be free. I want him to run in the daisies and the lilies. I want the sun in his hair. I want him to rip his shirt off, and I want him to be in the sun under the rainbow. That's how I want Bernie Sanders. I get it. I understand it. But there's a reality to this. Now, I would agree with you if Bernie Sanders tried to run in the Maine election as a Democrat and they cheated him again. And he would have all the impetus in the world to run as a third party. And he could say, they cheated me again. I'm not taking this shit anymore. Rallying my army, we're going to take the hill. Fair enough. But I think he should only do that if it proves to be impossible to run as a Democrat. But none of this nonsense deals of, we're going to play kumbaya. If this is going to be a political revolution, let's not pretend that revolutions are bloodless. I mean, shit, man. And I don't necessarily mean, Bernie Sanders killing anybody. I just means that him being willing, yes, you're running in the Democratic primary. If you don't take it, run against the party. He's not going to do that. But I'm just saying. Exactly, Jamal. Nobody talks about Lynch, Comey's boss. Hillary Clinton's promised her she could keep her job. Comey, scapegoat. Yeah, they're attacking Comey too. I mean, did you see Clinton sending that thing talking about but my emails? I was like, but your emails? Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? One of the things I have next is going to be an analysis of the media. I looked at the media after the IG report came out, and it says no bias. I was like, oh, HA probably shot himself. That was my first thought. And then as I look into the report, I was like, what do you mean no bias? What are you talking about? You just found an email where the person who was one of the lead investigators on the case said, we will not let him become president. Full-throated, we will not let him become president. How the hell is that not bias? Like, it is breathtaking for somebody to write, there were no bias found. No documentary evidence of no, and you have to look at the wording. He's acting like a lawyer. Of evidence found. Except for all of this other shit that's down there. I couldn't believe you said that. And you're like, this seems somewhat schizophrenic. Does the IG have cognitive dissonance in this report? Or did he mean to write a different report? Did he mean to write a different report? I'm just saying. Just saying. Just saying. I'm glad they fired Hannah Cranston. All she talked about was her vagina and sex, like all the time. Like, what the hell is that? Anti-Gravity 74. Is that so bad? I mean, like, what? What else? There's no point to anything, per se. The value that a person gives something is value that a person gives it. Maybe she thinks very highly of her vagina. Good on her. I think women should have positive vagina health. Positive vagina thoughts. So, Anna spread a bunch of anti-Jill Stein nonsense like Jill wanted to eliminate Wi-Fi from schools. Oh, are you serious? I've gotten to the point I can't even stand her voice. She's going after Trump voters, going after women who voted. I don't know if you guys remember this. I remember this. Anna initially said she couldn't bring herself to vote for Hillary Clinton. And then over the course of the next X number of months, you see the transformation into somebody who couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton to somebody who is utterly antagonistic of anybody who does not bow down and kiss the ring. It's an amazing thing to watch and somewhat of a sad thing to watch. I don't necessarily know if that's purely internally her, just from the people that she's around, if she just got terrified of Trump voters. I have no idea. No idea. But, yeah, it was a weird thing to watch. Yeah, it was a weird thing to watch. Creative experiments. Anna needs to know that Hillary wanted to run against Trump for an easy win. Does she know that, though? She has to know that. I mean, one of the good things that Cenk did was go through WikiLeaks. He actually covered WikiLeaks. Now, Jordan covered it more so in depth, but when he got into the Clinton Foundation, he was totally covering that. Pied Piper. If you remember, I don't know if it was, I think it was Shattered in the book. There's a part in Shattered where one of the people in the campaign said, does it concern anyone that it seems like Donald Trump is the only one that we can beat? He couldn't do that. She couldn't even do that. Propaganda. Jamal, look up the video with Anna making fun of Bridget Santos for working at RT. Britta. Are you serious? What's wrong with working at RT? Here's the thing, man. All networks have a perspective. CNN has this kind of capitalistic governmental perspective. MSNBC, same thing. Fox News, for the most part, same thing. They just cut slightly one way or the other, but for the most part, they're mainstream establishment thought in the way that they go about their affairs. Corporations are awesome. Workers, not so much. We need to make sure that the rich have. We need to make sure that the poor, for the most part, suffers. in a nutshell. So, education, healthcare, those things are off the table. But on a whim, we could spend $80 billion on the military. On a whim. $5 trillion worth of unmatched charges. $5 trillion in the U.S. military budget. It's amazing. Yeah. 95% air. When will YouTube put warnings on Jamal's channels like they do on ours? Oh, that's funny. That's funny. All channels have a perspective. I mean, when a missile is fired off from... a perfect example. What matters is how the perspective lines up with objective reality. Donald Trump fires off a missile. He said he saw dead babies, and the dead babies hit him to his heart, and he fell off, and he was whining on the floor, and they said, look, Donald, you have access to missiles, you can fire them off. So he fires them off at Syria. Now, the media comes out after calling Donald Trump every name but a child of God for the last, X number of months. On this, not so much. They like you. I am blinded by the light of our missiles. Think about that. He became poetic when Donald Trump was firing off an illegal missile strike. Now, here's the catch. They didn't have evidence that the Syrian government did it. That didn't stop them from firing off the missile strike. And even if it did have evidence the Syrian government did it, who is the United States to fire off missile strikes? Why are some weapons okay, but other weapons not so much? I guess what point I'm making here is, it is against our laws and against international law. In fact is, we're not under attack. We're not being threatened. These are real questions that should be asked for something like this, seeing as the President of the United States has decided to use military power to pound and punch another country in the nose. Our media doesn't ask those questions. Now, you go to the BBC, they may ask, probably not. You go to RT asked. RT asked those questions. Is it legal? Should the president be doing this? Is America under assault? Tell us, sir, we'll ask those questions. Your network, it's the perspective that you're looking at this stuff with. There are certain channels that have biases. All channels have biases. America has a bias that it acts like is objective. They don't put a warning on CNN, but they should put a warning label on CNN, essentially state propaganda. CNN just recounts, sources said blah, 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 blah. Sources said blah, 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 blah. The whole article. Entire article. The government, somebody in the government said this. That's the article. Well, Washington Post does it too. When you look at those articles and you read them, check the sources. The people look at what the reporter says. We get so accustomed to reading it, we act like it's real, or we act like it's the real thing that's taking place without it necessarily being a perspective. But ultimately, if you look at it, oftentimes you would see state sources said X. Another state source said X. You've essentially just given the perspective of the state. The mouthpieces, yeah. Beltazar, watching Anna break down during the election night while drinking some nice port or mojito is now my favorite Sunday routine. Jimmy knew that Trump could win. I watched their election coverage was bar none the best election coverage I'd ever seen on anything. Hands down. I give credit what credit is due. Now, that's leading up to the time Sanders started running to Trump winning. The meltdown. Lord Jesus, the meltdown. Who got fired? Nomiki and Hannah, and apparently 5 other senior staff members were fired. I blame the right-wingers for Obama. Had they complained about the wars and bailouts instead of the birth certificate, I would have listened. Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. When Abby got arrested, TYT said nothing. When Abby was brought up in RU probe, TYT said nothing. Abby should stop going on TYT. They aren't her friends. At the very least, they aren't friends that will say anything. Winkle the Bernie bro. Based on what though? People said the same thing about Trump, that he could do nothing, hasn't done much at all. There's plenty of executive branch does on its own. Yeah, Winky, I know what you mean. It's like a machine. The president is kind of doing some stuff, but they act like he was going to bring Armageddon and bring all hell down. And you find this weird situation where Donald Trump is trying to take troops out of Syria and take them out of North Korea. Fucking amazing. A year ago, he was screaming "Rocket Man" at the top of his lungs. And now he's being conciliatory and talking about taking troops out. The Democratic Party has turned around and said, no, goddammit, we would not take troops out of North Korea. And is talking about passing legislation to prevent Donald Trump, the president of the United States, from taking troops out of North Korea. It is fucking amazing. Think about that shit. They were also against taking troops out of Syria. It's amazing. It tells you where they stand. That's my point. It tells you where they stand. Nobody's trolling Jamal. We're just trolling TYT. What do you mean? Somebody's trolling me? Chauncey Stewart asks VT who votes 80% for him. Yeah, Bernie gets like 80% of the vote. He gets some ridiculous amount of the vote. Loser Donald segments were the beginning of the end in the election cycle. It was the same strategy as mainstream media. Attack Trump, give him attention. Nothing was sticking to him. Yeah, he was like Teflon. I mean, I think he got to the point where people's opinion of him was so low that they just, like, you see, grab him by the pussy. And it's like, well, yeah, I can kind of see Donald Trump saying that. I mean, he's not necessarily the most cut together guy. And it just, moves on. Now, the grab him by the pussy thing was, I got to be honest, I thought they blew it out of proportion. And I think a lot of guys are being dishonest. Because I think a lot of guys, if they're being on, my friends and I have played chess. At the time, I was computer software. Lloyd, mechanical engineer. Ted was an accountant. Ted going for his PhD. Lloyd, I think he has his master's or something like that. And we play chess all the time. One of the other friends that used to come over and play chess ride, we would go at each other, and some of the shit we would say to each other was insane, hilarious, and if it was on camera, all of them would have lost their jobs. Like, it's that bad. They look, the grabbing by the pussy thing, to some degree, it's like, where's the substance in this stuff? I understand you hitting them like rabbit punches on this stuff, but you're making it about reality stuff as opposed to making it about substance. And it's where the substance, where he's at his weakest. But they didn't necessarily do that. When they did an analysis of the campaign ads, they were just attacking Trump. Like, the overwhelming majority of Hillary's ads were literally just going after Trump. Luca, he's riding in the TUIT basement. All of Michael Tracy's reporting is filtered through Cenk's commentary. They don't let Michael on the show anymore. Michael Tracy is fucking awesome, but like you said, I never see him. What do you say? He's in the basement. Who cares about grandmother pussy? Yeah, I don't either. And Stormy, that's kind of my point, Kathy. I don't think anybody cares about this. Like, when it says Donald Trump had sex with a porn star, good for Donald Trump. That was my thought. Good for Donald Trump. I appreciate it. I have at it. But why should I think bad of him for having sex with a porn star? like I don't know why anybody would. No, that being said, there's some people who are looking for each and everything to hit him on. I get mad at him when we're talking about, throwing people in concentration camps, taking kids and putting them in prison, attacking wetlands and wildlife, revving up the war effort against Iran, like defunding food programs, passing these tax cuts, attacking the tepid healthcare that we do have in this nation. That's what I get mad at. Policy! I get mad at policy. I don't care if he has sex with a porn star. Nobody does. But Democrats, I don't care if you say grab by the pussy. I don't care about this stuff. What is he doing? that's affecting real human beings. That's what I care about. And I suspect that that's what most people care about. And they see this stuff as just flack that's being thrown up. That's what I think. That's absolutely what I think. Trump just authorized funds for the white helmets. Winger, yes, I saw that. I was doing that story. God damn it, you guys are beating me to the source. I have that story queued up. Trump saying grabbing by the pussy sounds like a 6th grader telling his friends how he just had sex despite clearly not understanding how sex works. A little bit, right? It's like, because it sounds so weird and awkward. Like, grab him by the pussy. What? What are you grabbing? It's like what are you grabbing? Watching Anna break down doing it. Yeah, Jimmy knew Trump would win. Yeah. I think I told the story before, but I have a new subscriber, so they might not know. Well, when I was working at the company where I worked at, one of the guys who was related to the owner of the company was a Hillary supporter. Devout Hillary supporter. And him and I would bump heads all the time. And I got to the point one day where I was like, if you guys are going to run the government this way, let the shit burn. You're not going to run it this way with me. And he's shocked by this. And I'm like, why are you shocked? You're acting like I'm one of your voters. It's like you being shocked that Paul Ryan didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. That's absurd. Why would you be shocked that somebody doesn't vote for your candidate? You don't own those votes. Now, that morning, before the day of the election, he's capitalist class, and he's fluttering around, happy as a jaybird, and I'm like, dude, I don't see how she wins. And he says, no, she's going to win by 332 votes. I said, you think Hillary Clinton is going to break 300? Yes, she is going to demolish Donald Trump. I looked on HuffPost, and HuffPost had about 98% chance of Hillary winning. I said, what states do you think she's going to win? And you could use the program to choose your map. You can pick the map. And I said, this is my map. I don't see how she wins it. I said, she may be able to take this state, but they don't even know if she could take this state. And he says, nonsense. And he makes his map, and he finds 330 points. I said, if Hillary Clinton breaks 300, I will wear a Hillary Clinton t-shirt to work. I will sport it. I would wear it. I would say Hillary Clinton shocked the shit out of me, and here's me, wearing this shirt, embarrassed to have it on. I'm with her. I said, but if you lose, you wear a Bernie shirt. You're going to wear a Bernie Sanders shirt, buddy. And you're going to tell everybody that you feel the burn and that you're wrong for doubting my excellence in political wisdom. Do you know that asshole never wore that shirt after that? Not only did she not break 300, she didn't even win the goddamn election. And he reneged on the bet. I left the shirt in his office to shame him. So it just sits there, looking at him, shaming him, with a question like, why nowhere, dude? Why nowhere? It's sad and pathetic. But that's what you get with a Hillary supporter. That's what you get with a Hillary supporter. Trump just authorized funds for the white helmets. Yeah. Yes, he did. You know what's wild about it? Supposedly he had stopped the funding, and then he restarted the funding. It's like, why would you restart the funding? Is Trump trying to start World War III? If white helmets come up with another chemical attack, Russia has said that they are going to come up with another chemical attack, and the United States attacks Russian installations, just saying. Joke's on you, Jamal. Hillary supporters don't have the capacity to feel shame. You know what's wild about this too? My friend stood by me at my wedding. He misses this thing of, you cheated Sanders. Why would I give two shits about whether your candidate is cheated or not? And how it's kind of rich that you're trying to make this point up of Hillary being cheated. He's like, well, I'm not saying that that's why she lost. I'm just saying it was a factor. Yeah, whatever. Trump is complicit in bombing, giving civilians Trudy. Not just complicit, Trump is actually working with Saudis. I did that story the other day. Trump is working with the Saudis in either coordination, knowing full goddamn well that there are hundreds of thousands of kids that are going to be at the recipient of those bombs that Saudi Arabia is launching at that base. Doctors Without Borders has come out and made a pitch saying you're going to kill a lot of people, and they've started evacuating the premises. You have a country that is already facing starvation, in the middle of starvation, in a crisis from the standpoint of what is a cholera epidemic, and Donald Trump is complicit in assisting in the murdering of those people. Peace prize my ass. Invite Trump to the show. We have questions. Oh, Wesley, I wish. I wish. Donald Trump would never come on. Maybe. I could send him a tweet. Never know. Trump is random as all hell. He's like, sure. I'll be on the show. Rachel Maddow. Yeah, that would be fucking hilarious. That would be absolutely hilarious. Civil disobedience. It's terrible. Damn. It's terrible, he said. Trump's not dropping bombs the other day. 200, whatever. It's more revolution than we've had since the 1960s. Flash Gordon. Yeah, but it's a right-wing revolution. It's not even a revolution because this isn't going to last. Like, Trump is somewhat of an aberration. It's not like Reagan, if that makes sense. At least I don't think it is. Or maybe I'm wrong. He's a more honest representation of a Republican. That's what I think. I don't think he's anything different than the other Republicans. That's why I don't necessarily think this is some kind of deviation. He's more honest in what he thinks in an odd way. I mean, he lies through his teeth flagrantly when he opens his mouth. But what he does say, let me say it this way. He lies in such a ridiculous way that it's like everybody knows, at least I think everybody knows he's lying. I don't think he's a model. Like, I don't think it's a Reagan revolution of sorts. I think society is looking for answers. And I think they're sloshing about trying to find something, some strand. The Democratic Party had the strand to win. They cheated that guy. And you ended up with a right-wing expression. So that's what we got to live through. Pat Hacker, Winkle popularity isn't everything. Trump has his head up Nutty Yahoo's butt and does the Saudi sword dance before bed. Some people assume Clinton would win because they didn't want to imagine any other outcome. Yes, that's true. Like, don't bother fighting for Obama's South Carolina Supreme Court appointment because Hillary's going to pick the next one anyway, right? Fucking A, man. Who are you? I love you. You're awesome. What's your name? Then Nation. That's awesome. And yes, you're right. He should have fought tooth and nail for that Supreme Court pick, and he didn't do it. Even after Trump won, he didn't do it. Think about that. The Republican Party has cheated Obama for the, months that they kept that Supreme Court pick up. Unprecedented. And there was no consequence for it, other than they win the Supreme Court seat. Politics. Do you know the guy for the S&P? I did the video. Ian. I can't think of his last name. But he flips out and leaves. It's put out of Parliament. And I made the point that this is to some degree theater, and he's working to whatever ends he can, using whatever means he has, to put up another referendum to get Scotland out of the UK. He is using every maneuver in his toolbox because he believes it. It's in him. It's something he wakes up in the morning with and he goes to bed with. You don't have to push him. You don't have to ask him about it. It's like me asking Elizabeth Warren, hey, Elizabeth Warren, there's a banker over there and that banker stole this kid's candy. That's all you have to tell Elizabeth Warren. She's going to go punch him in the throat. She believes it. It's deep in her. I'm making this point that there's a difference between something that's in somebody versus something where you have to kind of cajole and push and, you know, all this other stuff. It's not in them. It's not in them. They're not that into you. Ultimately, if Obama really cared and he wanted to push, either he didn't have the imagination or he didn't just have the fight in him to do it. I don't necessarily know which one it is. Maybe they assumed Hillary Clinton would win, in which case she would pick somebody. I don't know. But he should have fought tooth and nail and been indignant about the fact that they were blocking his pick. He should have used whatever toolbox in his disposal. And he should have bitched and moaned and belly-hooed. I would have pointed one finger after the next. And I would have appointed him because I would have said what they were doing was a sham. And I would have forced them to take me to court. Take me to court. Let this go from one place to the next, and we're going to fight this out in the courtroom. But we're going to fight this out in the courtroom with that guy sitting on the bench. I'm always annoyed by that because it's such weakness. Even if you lose, at least you fought. Put your weapons down. Doctors without borders are important. Now it's either Amazon's, Barnes and Noble's, or actual bookshop. Those are in short supply. Doctors without Barnes and Noble. Doctors without Barnes and Noble. Because Borders bookstore. I don't know if Borders is everywhere, but Borders used to have a bookstore. Now Borders is gone, and so it's Doctors without Barnes and Nobles. I don't know if they get it. Hey Jamal, can you give a quick recap of what happened at TYT for its late arrivals? How did it? So essentially, Nomiki Konst and what is her name? Hannah Cranston. Hannah Cranston has been fired from TYT, or you could say let go. The question becomes, why were they let go? Which is why I'm saying fired, but eventually, yes, technically they were fired. In addition to 5 other senior staff members were fired. They said that they're sorry to see him go. They're still close to him and everything else. We're still buddy. We're still peace and love. But tough decisions needed to be made. We're a capitalistic enterprise. And in order to streamline and in order to grow, we had to essentially cut bait. I asked the question on why did they let Nomiki go? Assume for the moment that Hannah Cranston's show wasn't doing well. You could make an argument that, okay, we're getting rid of deadweight. I'm not saying her show's deadweight, I'm just making an argument. But you can't say that about Nomiki. Nomiki loved her work, and not just loved her work. Her ideological point of view was in line with TYT's ideological point of view. There was no conflict from the standpoint of way she went about her affairs. Now, you could say there was somewhat of a conflict from the standpoint of her doing media and doing politics. Yes, that's a little weird. Now, did TYT get mad at her for that and let her go because of it? I don't know. They didn't seem to mind when the other woman was doing it. The politician was essentially coming to their show every Wednesday night. So I don't necessarily know if that would be the reason, this kind of crossover between media and politics. So I asked the question, why on earth did they let Nomiki go? I read her post out, and her post didn't come across as if she wanted to leave. It came across as she's leaving in this kind of sorrowful way. I enjoyed my work. This was the greatest opportunity of my life. I didn't have the expectation. I took a big risk coming to TYT, and this has been 2 years, etc., etc. It didn't seem like she necessarily wanted to go. It seemed like she was fired. Now, why was she let go? And is that indicative of money troubles? That's what I'm asking. Otherwise, why are you letting your flagship reporter go? You've had a lot of people supposedly put in a lot of money in order to get Nomiki and a few other reporters. Nomiki has been ubiquitous all over the place. And like you said, interviewing Jeremy Corbyn, I've seen multiple interviews where they send her to Puerto Rico and all. Are they just not caring about reporters now? So they say screw reporters? Are they running low on cash? I mean, they were talking about expanding up to 200 members, like 200 people that was working for him. And this looks like the opposite of expanding. This is contracting, just as a flat fact definition. This is them getting rid of people, firing a lot of people. Is this something where TYT is having difficulty with their books? And the reason why, do you remember The Blaze? I think it was called The Blaze. It was, oh God, I've been up all night, so I'm a little fuzzy. But Glenn Beck. Yeah, it was Glenn Beck's channel. And TYT, Cenk Uygur, was dancing on his grave when that channel started to go belly up. And he started to essentially joke him remorselessly. Now, I kind of made this point that, look, I don't like The Blaze. I think Glenn Beck is a goofball. And so it's not that I necessarily hate the joking, but there's a certain amount of irony if this is where we are, where the first story about The Blaze came out where they were losing employees, and now you have the story that comes out about TYT where they're losing employees. And particularly good ones. I understand that Hannah may talk about her vagina all the time, but Nomiki didn't necessarily do that. She talked about all sorts of stuff. And by the way, I'm saying that because one of my members said that they wanted to see Hannah go because that's all she did. So, and AMP, I love that name. Sanders and Gore wouldn't fight the military-industrial because they don't have the base support to fight them. It has nothing to do with balls or courage or guts. They don't have the ability. That's interesting. That is interesting. I don't know if that's true, by the way. I don't know if that's true. I mean, Gore didn't have any impetus to do it because Gore just didn't have any impetus to do it. But Sanders, even if you want to call it for purely political effect, has been making one speech after the next. He joined hands with hard right Mike Lee in order to come out with this thing saying Syria is for the most part illegal and we need to stop helping the Saudis murder and starve Yemenis. Yemidis. I think it's Yemidis. Something to that effect. He does have the base. I guess that's what I'm saying. The question becomes, are run-of-the-mill Democrats, would they be with him? Like in the same way that, look, I have a hypothesis. I think half of the country doesn't vote because half of the country feels there's no point to the vote. The one thing with Sanders, and the reason why Sanders was beating the stuffing out of Trump, is because those people who were independents actually came out to vote. And not just that, many of the people who were independents who were with Trump left Trump and went to Sanders. Now, if you have a president who's running around the country saying, we need to stop this, we need to stop this, we need to stop this, are you telling me you don't think that riles up this kind of support, this kind of anti-war movement when you have a president who's actually pulling and trying to get people riled up for the anti-war movement? I don't necessarily know if that's fully true. Meaning what you said. I do think the bully pulpit can bring up those things. And I don't necessarily accept that there's no change possible to the military stuff. At least that's my thought. Chuck E. Cheese. It's strange when I think of the bombs that are so expensive. I think of people falling through the cracks instead of being more prosperous. Think about that. 26,000 bombs. Obama, like, there's a faction of the country that was left uninsured, 20 million people. Based upon that percentage of people uninsured, there's a certain percentage of those people that die. Meaning you're going to get X number of thousands of deaths per year because people didn't have insurance or didn't go to the doctor because they didn't necessarily have the money to pay the copay or pay for the meds or pay for something that's in this for-profit medical healthcare system. That's a choice. When Obamacare was put through, that was a choice. It had to be a choice. Either it was a choice or it was incompetence. They left 20 million people off the healthcare rolls. They took that gigantic pull to get to the point where it doesn't even cover everybody, making the choice to allow people to die, while at the same token being perfectly okay with over 20,000 bombs a year being dropped. It's fucking amazing. Like, think how much those things cost, and they're just literally blowing them up. Just, that's it. Taking materials, using those materials for finely tuned things, and just blowing them up. It's amazing. It makes no fucking sense. And yet, that's what they do. And they say it is necessary to do that. It's fucking amazing. The question that I always hit my head on, look, implicit in their worldview is something fundamental. Domination. It's implicit. It's the thing. It's the kernel that's in their worldview. Meaning all of this is based on this idea that if we're not dominant, they will dominate us. And they is this undefined, amorphous thing that's out there somewhere. We need to have control because we have all of these enemies. And if we don't have control, those enemies will get us. Is it true? Is it possible that those enemies may get you because of the things you've done to those enemies? That's the fundamental crux of their argument. Now the question becomes, can you secure yourself and not be dicks to the rest of the world? It's like, shit, man. Bernie can't beat the establishment. Bernie is part of the establishment. Uh-oh. We've gotten into a Bernie fight. Pub base. Too many American minds have been poisoned by lead, toxins, hormones, drugs, religion, pollution, TV, and junk food. Time to get outside and working for what you need instead of trusting Greedos. I am Silo. Let's not forget what a hack Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore is not a hack. Jimmy Dore is not a hack. Why is the left so anti-Russian now when they said nothing about the USSR? Reckless abandon. It's not the left, man. It's Democrats. There is a difference in those things. Democrats are anti-left because they're trying to pin Hillary Clinton's failure to a reality show host on Russia. This is nonsense. But that's what they're trying to do. And they have these people walking around into this cult-like days of Trump and Russia. Mind you, they haven't found anything to make the link between the two. And yet, Trump and Russia. They use it to assuage their understanding of the world that woman who was supposedly perfectly nice, who had no, who that goddamn called me for no reason, was talking about her emails, got her to lose the election. They're pinning this on Russia, talking about Russia hacked them, always missing, A, that Julian Assange said it wasn't Russia, and of all the people, that would be the person to know. And B, saying that the information that was revealed was that they themselves, who were complaining about cheating, were cheating Bernie fucking Sanders. So yeah, there's that. Not to mention the Clinton Foundation was a slush fund. So that woman should have been perp walked either for the Clinton Foundation or for those emails. Yeah. Soviet winter prison. United States real left-wingers have no problem with Russia. Yeah, I don't have a problem with Russia. Russia problem, our Russians sort out. We have nothing to do with. Right there. Right there. Live and let live. The prime directive in operation. That country, like our country, and like the country beside us, have problems. We need to sort our shit out. And we don't need to be pointing fingers at other people to deal with our stuff. Whether that's immigrants, whether that's blacks, whether that's Hispanics, whether that's Russians, whether that's whatever. We have our own shit to deal with. And the wild part about it is there is no reason. It's like a cockfight. I mean, but it's like a contrived human cockfight. You have 95% of the wealth going to the top 1%. It's like having one pizza and one guy takes 95 slices and tell everybody else, have at it. And when he takes those 95 slices, the rest of the people there look at him and say, this is fair. And they go about their way fighting for their slice of the pie. Our society is weird and bizarre, and I suspect part of the frustration with this stuff is because people believe that there's not enough to go around, when that's nonsense. This stuff is forced scarcity. Americans need to get a passport, Dax. Americans do need to get a passport. A lot of us don't have one. A lot of us do not have one. Alright, I'm going to end this. This one has been going on for a while. I have a couple more that I want to do. Yeah, there's like two more that I was going to do. It was one that somebody else brought up that I had already queued up. So I will be back in about 10-15 minutes. I'm going to get something to drink. And thank you guys for showing up. And I want to thank everyone that contributed. I'm always shocked by it to some degree. And completely appreciative of it. It helps. It literally allows the content to take place. If no one came to watch, there would be no reason to do the show. I honestly, what I would like to do. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be on Fault Lines with Kevin. What is it? Stranahan. With Lee Stranahan and Garland Nixon. That's going to be at 8 in the morning on Fault Lines Radio. I'm riding up to the studio in DC. I've never been to a studio before, so this should be an absolute awesome experience. So that should be awesome. Don't just get a drink, go eat something. Tia Wheeler. Believe it or not, I don't usually eat until the evening, Tia. I don't like having stuff on my stomach. Your boss, Jamal. Happy Saturday. Nice seeing you folks. Yeah, man. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I love doing the show. And it's like one of those things of I love doing the show. You guys allow me to do the show. So I'm not going to get mushy and it's like, here's my heart and my seat. I love you, man. No, I just mean I appreciate it. And I thank you all very much. I will see you guys probably in the next 10-15 minutes. Thanks, guys. Actually, maybe a little bit more. I need to take the dogs out. So maybe about 30. Thanks, everyone. See you shortly.